Welcome, everyone. I certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is Rob Schwartz. I'll be moderating today's presentation. What are we calling this? Well, we could call it the California College Roundtable. We can also call it what I'm calling it, sort of a tribute to our governor, the nation state, the perspective across the panoply of California colleges and universities in real time. Joining me today is Lisa Prescott, Director of Admissions at UC Santa Barbara, Kelly Gerens, Admission Counselor at Pepperdine University, Jordan Brown, Admission Counselor at Occidental College, and Maria Malloy, Admission Counselor at the University of San Diego. And on behalf of our viewers, I want to thank each and every one of you for making time today to join me. What are we hoping to accomplish today? First, we really want to give each of these four schools that cover a pretty wide berth of California options an opportunity to share two very important pieces of information. The first is, how are each of these schools planning to deal with admissions in the coming year? How are we dealing with the seniors who just graduated who are now becoming freshmen? What kind of an experience are we expecting for them in the coming fall? We're going to cover those two topics. We're going to give each of the schools the opportunity to discuss their own specific perspectives. And then we're going to open things up to a roundtable where we're going to cover some hot topics in college admission and get everyone's perspective on what's going on and why it's important for each of them. At the very end, if you do have follow-up questions or concerns, there'll be an email address for each of our participants where you can reach out directly to them. So without further ado, let me get this into the hands of the professionals who've joined me today. Lisa Prescott from UC Santa Barbara, thank you again for joining me, and the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for allowing me to talk to you today. So as far as Santa Barbara's plan, we are working on it daily. There's a huge campus committee that convenes regularly to find out what is the best instruction we can give students, how can they still have that full college experience, and can we house them safely? So we are anticipating a hybrid model of instruction. So we will have some in-person instruction. We don't anticipate any large lecture halls being open, but there will be smaller group discussions. Our residence halls will be singles and doubles. And right now we are just working with County Health Department to figure out how many students we are allowed to accommodate back on campus and making sure that the campus is set up to safely receive students, that we have proper cleaning procedures in place, testing procedures in place, social activities set up for the students that can be done in a fun and safe way. So we are anticipating a hybrid model of instruction, and a note just went out to newly admitted students this morning and to the campus community at large. So you could log on to our campus homepage to find out the specifics of our instruction, our housing, and our plans.
Excellent. And then when we talk about our younger students who are now matriculating into the senior year and they're getting ready to start talking about, okay, I'm going to apply to college, how is this all going to work? Can you talk about UC Santa Barbara's current plan for the status quo or the big changes that may be coming based on COVID-19 or anything else that you guys foresee in the near future?
Well, one of the things that I'm really noticing is, it's during this time of the year, during spring and summer, that we start meeting prospective students. They're coming onto campus for tours, or they're signing up for information, sending us email, participating in some of our activities. Because we're closed for tours, we don't have a way to meet those students as readily as we did before. And I know we're going to be talking about test optional and exams coming forward, but as fewer students take those exams, again, it's more of a challenge for colleges to find you. So one of the things that we're actively doing is trying to do a lot of online activities. And I know students are getting very burned out on Zoom and webinars, but I would really say, let us know that you're interested. Sign up for a webinar, go on a virtual campus tour, just join our mailing list, because we have all kinds of great activities planned. We have summer boot camps that we're planning to help walk you through the application process and get you ready, but we need to know who you are. So that's, I think, one of the biggest changes. We're planning to do fall visits virtually. So our team are currently doing that. We've got a whole lecture series that we're planning. So if you want to sample what a virtual online course is like, students will be able to watch some of those lectures online. But we need to know who you are, and we need to know that you're interested. So make yourself known to us, because we are still working full weeks looking for ways to interact with students.
I think that's a really important point for all students, regardless of the types of schools that they're anticipating targeting in the coming year or even the coming 2 years. The idea that reaching out and asking for information and sharing their information is a really important part of this process. Right. Schools, big and small, are very interested in finding you, the student, the consumer, and being able to allow colleges and universities to share what they bring to the table, which is a win-win scenario. Make no mistake. This is a win for you in the admission office, but it's also a win for the students who are being able to see the incredible differences in the opportunities just in our own state, as we're going to come to find from our other guests.
Yeah, and I would just add quickly to that is that University of California does not use demonstrated interest in our selection criteria in any way. So this really is purely to serve you, to give you the information you need. Total no pressure situation. It really is. We want to make sure you get the information you need. So let us know you're out there. It's not going to give you any benefit on the application. It's really just there to be of service.
Excellent. Lisa, thank you so much for participating in today's meeting. I'm going to now move over to our representative from Pepperdine University, Kelly.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Happy to be here. Thank you for having
us. Thank you for joining us. And the floor is yours. Tell us about Pepperdine.
Yes. So kind of like everybody, it's been a past couple months of trying to figure out how can we serve our students, the ones that are matriculating to come in fall, first and foremost, like what will that look like for these students? So it's been a lot of Zoom calls, a lot of discussions. So we finally released about 2 weeks ago what we're going to do for the incoming fall 2020 class. So they will be on campus, but they're going to start classes mid-August. Instead, they typically would start closer to the earliest of September, like September 1st. So we're going to start them mid-August, and we're actually going to send them home before Thanksgiving. And then they're not going to come back until mid-February. And then that class will graduate in May. The goal here was try to beat the cold and flu season. That was the communication that was given to us in terms of what that will look like. We're just hoping that our kids and our students stay healthy. So we're going to have students on campus, but again, we're still working through questions such as, what if my student doesn't feel safe to be on campus and wants to do online courses? So there's still, as I'm sure every representative here is aware, there's a lot of questions left to answer that will be answered closer to fall, which we know can make families and prospective students frustrated. But if there's anything I want the families and students to know, it's we're right there with you. We get the communication at the same time that the students do. And so we're doing our best, but we don't want to rush the process. We want our student safety to come first. So in terms of housing, you will still have the normal suite life at Pepperdine. It is a great life, but suite style housing is what I mean by that. So everyone will have a roommate, but it's going to be lower in capacity. We've upped our cleaning services on campus. There's different guidelines to being able to be on campus. For staff, we can only have a certain amount there to make sure that more students can be on campus. So there's a lot of questions we're working through, but we're pleased to know we're going to have students on campus. But as more things come available to us, that's when we send it out to the community.
Excellent. And then looking at the students who are matriculating into the senior year of high school, are there any changes to the way you're going to be doing things in terms of admission?
Yes. So the big announcement, which Lisa mentioned we're going to talk about a little bit later, is Pepperdine did decide to move test optional for this next admission cycle. just strictly off of everything going on. And we were getting, I'm sure every representative here, a flood of questions saying, I can't take the test. It was canceled. So we just made the executive decision just to say for the fall 2021 admission cycle, it's going to be test optional. That makes our admission process look a little bit different. We do holistically review, but for this next class, we're going to have to meet the class where they're coming. So that means we're going to have to look more at their essays, their activities, and a bit more firmly at their GPA. And we're currently reevaluating. The biggest question I get is, what does that mean for merit scholarships? We have to reevaluate that with our finance department to see what are the new factors that we're looking in, because some students will give a test score, some won't. So those are the factors we're currently working through. But the biggest change in admission is the fact that we are test optional this next year. But like Lisa said, our recruitment is looking a lot different. It's not looking like we're going to be able to be boots on the ground with these new high school students that want to come to Pepperdine. And so it's going to be a lot more virtual visits. We're planning more webinars just to be able to have that contact with our students.
Understood and appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Batting third, Jordan Brown at Occidental College.
First of all, I just want to say thank you, Rob, for having me. It's a privilege to be here, and it's so awesome to be able to hear from colleagues at other institutions as well. So I really do appreciate it.
Of course.
In terms of what our plan is for the fall, we did announce on the 15th that we are having students back on campus, which we are super pleased about, but it is going to look different than in years past, obviously. So we're going to have a very flexibly offered course curriculum. So some courses will be offered remotely, some courses will be a hybrid, some courses will be in person, but in socially distanced classrooms or even outdoors. One of the advantages of being a California school. And students will have the option, if they do not feel comfortable being on campus, taking classes in person, they can do their entire fall semester remotely. So that is something that we are offering. We are going to have an earlier start date by 1 day. So August 24th is the first day of classes. We've canceled our traditional fall break, which takes place in October. And then classes are going to finish prior to Thanksgiving. And then finals will be administered remotely following Thanksgiving. We haven't yet made a determination about what the spring semester looks like. But there's definitely going to be, in terms of like student life, much more virtual engagement in terms of traditional programming. So that's going to be a change. We've also decentralized our residency. So we're going to have far less students living on campus. And previously we had a 3-year residency requirement. So it was compulsory for students to live on campus, and we have now waived that requirement. So we're going to leave it up to students. If they want to live off campus, that's going to be an option for them. And then we're going to administer a survey and see what it is they want. And then of course, there's going to be a whole host of testing protocols and increase in cleaning and things like that. So that's the answer to the question one.
Okay. And question number 2 for our friends who are rising seniors, rising juniors, how are they going to be seen in a different manner, and how are you going to see them in a different manner?
Yeah. So like my previous 2 colleagues stated, we are test optional. So that is one kind of fundamental change. It's just for 1 year right now, and then we're going to reevaluate that. We also may change a deadline or 2, but that's something that has not yet been announced, but we will know sometime this summer. And that would mean delaying a deadline. It wouldn't mean anything's earlier. We're also planning on potentially adding a supplemental question, just because we are going to be evaluating these applications in some cases without testing. So is there a way to make up for that absence of information? And then in terms of recruitment, yeah, the fall is going to look very different. I know we're all used to traveling a good amount, and certainly that's definitely not going to happen in the same way. So we're having all sorts of virtual programming right now. I would implore anyone who's interested in Occidental to sign up for one of our virtual information sessions, which take place Tuesdays and Thursdays. We also are planning on doing some sort of virtual high school visit scheduling in September and October. And then we're also, because we're not traveling, we have much greater capacity to do interviews. So we're also encouraging students who are interested in Occidental to register for an interview, and that'll registration for that will begin in July. So that's another big change, but similar to UCSB, we don't track demonstrated interest. So it's not something that we're chronicling, but certainly it's a good opportunity to just learn more about Oxy.
I have a quick follow-up on the question regarding adding a supplemental question to the application. If that happens, do you have a time frame of when that would take place?
Oh, that's That is going to be added by August, whenever the new common application goes live. Yeah,
Okay.
so sometime in the next few weeks. It's an ongoing discussion right now.
Okay, so for God forbid my students actually tune in and listen to this broadcast, remember when I told you, don't start the common application until August, you might miss something? Now you know why. All right, Jordan, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Our fourth contestant today represents the University of San Diego, and I would like to welcome to the stage right now, Maria Malloy. Maria, welcome.
Thank you so much. And thanks again, Rob, for including USD as part of your panel.
My pleasure.
So, you know, I think we are all really on the same boat. And here at USD, we have announced that we will offer a hybrid model for the fall. And what that means is, again, similar to what everyone has mentioned, is that we are going to give that option for students if they would like to do remote learning instead. And so, you know, we are certainly very fortunate to be able to welcome students back. And we are, you know, working very hard, you know, similar to my colleagues here. We have committee meetings quite often and to discuss what the classroom would look like. There are some discussions that we will possibly be having students be in class maybe twice a week, and then other days would be remote learning. And so we're also kind of gauging which students who are living on campus would want to 100% do remote learning. So we still want to welcome our students to campus, but if they still would like to do remote learning 100% while they're on campus, we are also exploring that as an option. So we really do want to consider the well-being of our community, our staff, and also our faculty who may not want to, and for their health reasons, come to campus to teach. So we are also accommodating our faculty members to see what is best for them. So it's ongoing. We have sent out surveys to our new students to see how many are preferring to do remote learning, especially our international students who have those travel restrictions and the visa challenges. So it is definitely ongoing. We've surveyed our current students as well to see how many are wanting to come back to campus. But we are in a fortunate situation in the sense that our class size is small already. So we are, you know, we know that we'll be able to accommodate that low density, but then having to keep everyone 6 feet apart is going to be one of those things that we are trying to figure out which classrooms on campus would be the best fit.
Makes sense to me. How about for our friends who are rising juniors and rising seniors? Are there any changes at USD in terms of how you're going to be wooing or looking at them?
So we have announced that we will be test optional moving forward. So moving forward and in the years to come, we will be test optional. So it is going to be a lot of reviews in our end on how we will evaluate our new applicants. We will continue to offer merit scholarships as well. So having to really kind of determine those parameters are things that we are exploring this summer. That is definitely the biggest announcement that we have here at USD. Our application deadline will remain the same, being December 15. We'll continue to use the common application, which does already include a supplemental form. But similar to my colleagues here, we're really going to be looking at the students' academic history, looking at the rigor of their curriculum and the activities that they've been involved in, as those are things that we want to see how they match to the mission of USD. And see if those interests and those passion align to what we can offer here at USD. Certainly, you know, as many mentioned, it's so different not having campus tours. Summer is really when families will be visiting campuses. So we are offering virtual tours. We will have a virtual open house later this summer. So really kind of exploring that virtual platform and what would be best for our prospective students. As you know, with that Zoom fatigue, it is real, and trying to really accommodate that for our prospective students.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Maria. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to the round robin. Question number one is, how are each of your schools handling the new SAT and ACT online exams? Are you going to accept them? Are there changes to the super scoring policy based on what ACT is doing to their score reports? We'll stick with the same order. Lisa, you are first.
So University of California is test optional. And for fall 21 applicants and fall 22, we are test optional. Beyond fall 22, we're going to be test blind. So that's something to keep in mind. If the scores help you, we'll use them. If they don't, we will ignore. And we've never done super scoring. So that's not something that really applies to University of California.
So there's no change. ACT is making a change, and the UC said, that's nice.
That's nice.
All right, perfect. Kelly.
Yeah, in regards to this, the only big decision we've made is that we're test optional. This is still something that has to be discussed and is a to be determined kind of point in our office. So we will probably announce something pertaining to it before fall, but we have yet to make a decision as to how this will impact the process of applying to Pepperdine.
Perfect. Jordan.
Yep, similar to what Kelly said, we haven't totally determined what our policy is going to be moving forward. We did make the shift to being test optional, understanding that accessibility to these tests was incredibly limited and out of an abundance of caution for our students' safety. With that being said, in years past, we had super scored. So traditionally we have super scored. Obviously, this is a different kind of shift. So it's TBD in terms of what we'll do moving forward. But historically, we have super scored both the ACT and the SAT.
Maria.
Yes, so same thing. We're still kind of exploring how we're going to review our new applicants this fall. We, historically have super scored the SAT. We have never super scored the ACT, so that will be something that we will have to determine if it is something we would offer for our new applicants.
All right, thank you. The second question is far more general in nature, and again, this is something that doesn't necessarily have to be sponsored by your institution of higher learning. It could be something that you just feel is something important that you as a person want to share. And the question is, what is the best piece of advice you can offer any high school student who is considering going to a four-year college? Lisa.
Wow, my answer now during these COVID times is a little bit different than it may have been previously. What I'm picking up from students, from everybody, is just such an intense level of stress, right? We're all under incredible stress right now. And I guess what I would want the students to know is we understand, we feel the same pressure, we get it. And I guess what I've been trying to tell students is we are completely on your side. My title is Director of Admissions. I want to admit you. I am looking for every aspect of your application that tells me that you've done your best, you've tried your hardest, you've got passions in academic areas that you want to continue exploring in college, and that you've been involved and that you want to expand your way of thinking. Bringing those points across in your application is really important. We understand you're not going to be in the same level of activities you may have originally planned. We understand that internship you planned for this summer might not be on your application. But it's important to remember that every applicant is in the same situation. So my best advice is that you not rush through your essays. The University of California, we call them personal insight questions. Let us know your circumstances. Let us know your passions and your interests and what you've done to achieve them in light of the challenges that you're facing right now. But know that we get it, and we are going to take into consideration, the barriers that you may have had because of this COVID situation. But you may have really done some interesting things during this time, and it might even be just within your own house. Maybe you're the support structure for your family. Maybe you're the one keeping everyone in the family inspired and cheerful. It doesn't have to be as grandiose as you may think.
Excellent. Kelly, the floor is yours.
Lisa, that was great. I kind of want to echo a lot of that. At Pepperdine, we want to meet the students where they're at. So in the sense that we do holistically review, and we always have, we look at the student as a whole. But within COVID and everything going on, we're going to do that far more. So a big piece of my advice, it's kind of twofold. The first is just to keep reaching out to your admission counselor, regardless of the college, and that no question is a stupid question. It's heartbreaking to hear some of the stories that families are going through and prospective students. And of course, we'd love you, all of us individually at our college. But I think it's important that students know, like, reach out to us, have a conversation. And at the end of it, you realize maybe this isn't the best decision for me right now. You can always transfer, but it's important to make the decision that's best for you and in your heart and what you're feeling, which leads me into my second question, not question, statement and piece of advice for Pepperdine. So we are part of the Common Application. So for anyone unfamiliar, over 700 schools are a part of it. We're a part of it. And I really want to encourage students, this is something I've noticed in the past, I really encourage students to use that additional information section that's part of the Common App that all too often I notice students leave blank. And this is where we are at least encouraging our students, write about your experience with COVID-19 in this entire period we're all going through. Use that section to write about COVID-19 and how it's impacting you so that your personal statement can be something that is more unique to your character, something about you prior to COVID. Reason being, it breaks my heart when students have to write about an experience that negatively impacted them and occupy the entire personal statement about that when there's so many positive attributes about every student. So my big piece of advice would be, use that additional information to paint the picture of the context of what you went through during COVID, just to give us more information, but use that personal statement to write about you, your character, your attributes, something that would set you completely apart from someone else applying, just so that these students who are going through this time and applying in this next cycle can still get the same application experience and don't feel kind of downtrodden in the need to use the personal statement to write about COVID. I think they should focus on the positive parts of themselves.
I think that's great advice. Jordan Brown.
Yeah, I certainly agree with everything Lisa and Kelly just said. I wholeheartedly endorse that. And my heart goes out to all high school seniors and juniors. I mean, the college search process was, a complicated ordeal before a pandemic, and then layering on a pandemic, it's a whole new level of complication. So I definitely am sensitive to that. I know a lot of us in admissions are going to be completely sensitive to that. So my advice is similar in that we're trying to build a narrative with your application, and certainly one of the opportunities for you to construct that narrative is through your writing. So now more than ever, I think expressing how you've been affected by what's going on, things, ways you can reflect about how the past year has impacted you, those kinds of ways of thinking about the essay questions, I think, are going to be really, really important. It's also the case that, since we are test optional, one of the aspects of testing, part of why we have it, right, is that it's predictive of how you're going to do. And for us, the evidence-based reading and writing, we did find there was predictive validity of how you were doing at Occidental. So certainly, if there isn't testing, then we're absolutely going to be paying attention to the writing within your application. So that's just in terms of how we're trying to fill in some of the gaps of having less information. That is how we're going to view it. But definitely being authentic to who you are, reflecting on the past year, kind of building that narrative and thinking about how it has impacted you, I think is a really good piece of advice moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Maria.
Yes, again, I feel like I'm repeating what everyone else is saying here, but it is so very true that the essay is going to be even more so something that we will look at even more, with more emphasis. And always, when I do personal essay workshops, I always tell the audience that it's called personal for a reason. We do want you to really open up to us about what you've overcome, those challenges that you have had to work through and at the end be successful, and that learning lesson that you've learned out of it. And I think the other part too is a supplemental. If the college that you're applying to has a supplemental form, we want you to also take that time to review it and to do that research and to really think about the questions that we're asking, because that too is just as important when we are reviewing the rest of your common application. At USD, we will most likely do student interviews this fall because of the fact that we won't be able to really have that connection with you during our travel that we typically do in the fall. And so that's also something that I would encourage, is that if you have applicants that are really interested in a particular school, reach out to us. This is our period in our cycle that we do want to connect with our prospective students. And so if that college offers those individual time with an admissions counselor, do take advantage of it, because that's another layer that we will have when we are reviewing your application during that application season. So really, I think, I know we talk always about finding the right fit, but this is even more so important, that we want you to do that research so that we can really learn more about you and to see if you are going to be that good fit for us too.
Excellent advice. Thank you to each and every one of you. Those are terrific answers. We have one final question in the round robin, and I'm going to read a quote from something I found in Inside Higher Ed on May 4th of this year. Quote, "Colleges vary in their deferral policies. Some have a policy of granting a year-long deferral of admission upon request almost automatically, while others review requests individually and approve them based on a consideration of their merit. Some institutions are more or less agnostic about the reasons students defer, as long as they don't enroll as a degree-seeking student elsewhere, while more selective colleges say they'll only grant deferrals if students can demonstrate a plan for a meaningful alternative work, travel, or volunteer experience, or if they have reasons related to a military service commitment or illness. More than half a dozen colleges contacted by Inside Higher Ed say they aren't changing their deferral policies at this point, but they will be managing competing goals in the months ahead." End quote. The question I have is, will or would your school allow students to defer admission to the spring or take a gap year? And if so, under what conditions? Lisa, you're up.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you asked this question. And I think it's really important. I would emphasize to students as you're talking to colleges to be very clear. Are you requesting a 1 quarter or 1 semester deferral, or are you requesting a full year? Because we're getting a lot of questions from students, and they're maybe asking for one thing, but they're using the language of something else. So for us, a gap year means you are going to take a full year off. Within the University of California, we don't defer for a full year in general. You would have to reapply. Some campuses, for instance, Davis, right on their admission portal, a student can request that kind of a process. But for most of us, you simply have to reapply the following year. A deferral within University of California means that you're asking for one. We're on a quarter system, couple campuses on semester. So you're just asking for that 1 quarter or 1 semester deferral. Historically, we've been pretty strict about that. And really it's military service, an extreme situation such as an illness. And we instruct students that you cannot take coursework during that time. For current seniors who may be watching this, we're being a bit more flexible about that this year. But for your upcoming students, your current rising seniors, your current rising juniors, really you should plan to attend full time. And if circumstances with COVID don't change, we'll review our policies again next year. But for now, we only do deferrals. We don't do full gap year.
Kelly.
Yeah, so the policy at Pepperdine, we don't have deferrals. So you simply reapply. So if, say, you got admitted to come in the fall and something happens and you need to take a semester off or a full year off, you will do the reapplication come that next semester to apply for the following one. So kind of what that looks like at Pepperdine is you're submitting the same exact material that you did within the Common App, but then you're also giving us, it's simply a paragraph. Sometimes students choose to write above and beyond, which would be 2 paragraphs. So it's not a lot. thought of what you did during that gap time and why it was necessary for you. In terms of what that reapplication percentage looks like, it varies year to year, but we do tell students you would have to have done something immoral, unethical, illegal for that not to be honored. So a lot of the times what that looks like is students going on mission trips for Pepperdine, doing some form of service. Peace Corps is something that we've seen, or family issues going on that they just can't come. So surely we're going to see a lot more of that in lieu of COVID, just needing to maybe take time home to help the family out. But our policy for that has not changed. So it's still, you have to reapply.
Excellent. Jordan.
Yeah, at Occidental, our policy hasn't changed with what's going on. We do allow any student the ability to take a gap year up until July 1st. So that's true of this incoming class. There's 12 or so more days at the time we filmed this. I don't know when it airs, before students would have to declare a gap year. And there are some stipulations around what you can do during that gap year. So you cannot enroll full time at another institution, and you can only have a maximum of 2 courses transfer for credit. And then that following February, we'd ask you to kind of reconfirm your spot in the following fall's incoming class. But generally speaking, we do grant gap years to any incoming student prior to July 1st.
Maria.
Yes, so at the University of San Diego, we do offer the deferral process. You can defer up to a year, and it is something that the students would just reach out to us. And during that deferral period, historically, we would not allow students to take any college classes. So it would be if you are taking that gap year for travel, for an internship, to work, whatever that may be, as long as you fulfill that condition, we will give you that deferral. And similarly with Oxy, we would then also send out another admission letter just to ensure that the student is going to be confirming with us for that term. Now, this year it has been different. We have changed our policy with our deferral for our fall 2020 incoming students, in that we are now going to allow them to take classes during that deferral period, but up to 6 units per semester. So we understand that some students may not be comfortable just sitting out, especially at this time. And if you are going to be home, why not take a college class, 1 or 2 during that gap period. So this year we have changed it so that it is something that they can do. One of the things that we will recommend to the student is to check in with us if they want to discuss what those 6 units should be, so that it's transferable to USD. So that is going to be that extra step that we will offer to our students to help them ensure that they're transferable.
Excellent. I want to thank all of you for participating, sharing your time, your energy, your effort, your passion for what you do. I teach a class on the college admissions process for UCLA, and I spend an enormous amount of my time trying to get my students to understand your plight and understand that the job is hard, that you have an enormous workload, that you, under normal circumstances, have enormous travel. You have incredible responsibility, and a lot of hand-wringing goes into months and months of reading applications, and the decisions are hard. And with everything that's going on right now, I tip my cap. You're going to have a really interesting fall and probably an even more interesting spring as you go through these applications and you have some incredibly tough decisions to make. So know that there are people out there who empathize, who understand and appreciate what you do. I hope our audience recognizes the same, and I simply want to say thank you. For those who have questions, I'm just going to kind of read off everyone's email addresses. Please feel free to reach out, ask questions. As you've heard from all of our guests, we want to hear from you. We are here to help. For those who want to reach out to me, if you have questions, my email address is rob, R-O-B, @premiercollegeguide.com. For those who want to reach out to Lisa Prescott, her email address is lisa.przekop@sa.ucsb.edu. For those who want to reach out to Kelly, it's kelli.ge Pepperdine.edu. For those who want to reach out to Jordan, it's Brown, BROWN, the letter J, at oxy.edu. To those who want to reach out to Maria Malloy, it's MSMALLOY at sandiego.edu. Again, I want to thank our panelists, and I want to thank all of you for watching. I certainly hope you learned a lot and have a better sense of where you are in this process, whether you have just graduated from high school or you are a rising junior or senior. There are many options out there. I encourage you, as I believe all of our panel will, encourage you to do your homework, ask good questions, and figure out what you want and why you want it. And you'll find that you probably find the right place for you, because there are so many great places out there. Thank you again for watching. Thank you again to my panelists, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.